Masturbation mistakes. It's not something most older men talk about, but maybe it should be. Because after 60, everything changes. The body feels different. Reactions are slower. And what once felt natural or automatic now raises quiet questions most men are too embarrassed to ask. Are you doing things the way you've always done them, even though your body isn't responding the same? Have you noticed that something feels off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Do you ever wonder if the way you take care of yourself might actually be working against you? You're not alone. In fact, more men are silently struggling with these questions than you might expect. And yet, no one's really talking about them. This video is for you if you're curious, if you've noticed changes, or if you simply want to understand your body better in this next stage of life. Because while aging is natural, confusion and frustration don't have to be. We're going to explore something deeply personal today, not with shame, but with honesty and care. And what you learn might just shift the way you see yourself, your health, and your most private routines. So before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. That way you won't miss out on any future videos designed to help you age with confidence, clarity, and strength. All right, let's begin. Mistake 1. Believing that holding back makes you stronger. Nathan had always prided himself on control. He managed his finances, his blood pressure, even the weeds in his backyard with military precision. At 68, he believed that mastering his urges, especially the sexual ones, was a form of discipline. He'd read somewhere that retaining was a secret to energy, masculinity, even spiritual clarity. So he stopped. No release. For weeks, then months. But instead of feeling more powerful, Nathan began to feel off. He was restless at night. His pelvis carried a dull ache that wasn't there before. He felt a strange tightness in his gut. He thought maybe it was just aging. Until his doctor, during a routine exam, asked casually, "Have you been sexually active?" Nathan shrugged. Not really. What most older men don't realize is that the male body is wired for release, not just biologically, but hormonally and emotionally. Regular ejaculation has been linked to better prostate health, improved mood, and lower inflammation. Research from Harvard has even suggested it may reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Still, the myth of semen retention persists, especially among older generations influenced by outdated science or internet hype. They fear each release drains them. But holding back for too long doesn't create energy, it builds tension. It can cause pelvic congestion, mood swings, irritability, and even sleep disruption. In my medical career, I've seen countless men fall into this trap. They confuse restraint with virtue. But true health is about rhythm, not repression. Nathan's turning point came when his doctor, a man close to his own age, laughed gently and said, "You're not saving youth, you're bottling stress." That night, Nathan allowed himself to reconnect with his body, not with guilt, but with care. Slowly, the tension eased. The fog lifted. So let's be clear, letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. Your body isn't asking for indulgence, it's asking to be listened to. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more honest, science-backed health advice. Have a question or want to share your own story? Drop it into the comments. I read every single one and will personally respond. Mistake 2. Sticking to the same technique every time. Brian had been doing it the same way since his 20s. Same hand, same grip, same pace, same rhythm. It was familiar, predictable. It had always worked until recently. Now the sensation wasn't quite there. He still went through the motions, but something felt muted, like his body had tuned out. This is a more common problem than most men realize. When you repeat the same technique over and over again for decades, your body adapts. It becomes desensitized to that specific form of stimulation. Your nervous system gets conditioned to expect only that exact pattern and starts to ignore anything else. And here's the danger. It doesn't just affect solo experiences. It can make partnered intimacy more difficult too. You may struggle to respond to touch that isn't yours. You may feel confused about why you can't climax, or even stay mentally engaged. Brian thought something was wrong with him, but the real issue wasn't dysfunction, it was routine. As a doctor, I've guided men in their 60s and 70s through this before. The fix doesn't require pills or procedures. It requires curiosity. Switch hands, change pressure, try different rhythms, slow down, speed up. Even consider using tools designed to provide varied sensation. These aren't novelties, they're support systems for a body that's evolving. Brian, at age 70, hesitated at first, but eventually he experimented just a little. He altered his approach, turned on some soft music, focused on breathing. Within days, the sensation returned, not just physically, but emotionally too. He felt more present, less robotic, more human. It's not about chasing thrills. It's about giving your body a chance to feel again, fully. Your touch doesn't have to be the same as it was 30 years ago. In fact, it shouldn't be. Your body is changing. Your experience should too. If this story resonates, please take a second to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future insights. Got a question or just want to share your own experience? Leave it in the comments below. I'll personally read and respond. Mistake 3. Rushing the experience. Dennis always kept it quick. In his younger years, privacy was a luxury. A locked door, a quiet moment, a fast release. Those were the rules. It became a habit. Decades later, now in his 70s, Dennis still approached self-pleasure like a race. Get in, get out, get on with the day. But something changed. He didn't feel the same sense of relief, no calm, no connection, just an emptiness afterward, like he'd missed something. And truthfully, he had. The body after 60 is different. It doesn't respond well to rushing. What once worked at age 25 may now feel hollow at 70 because the nervous system needs time. Arousal builds slower, sensation deepens with presence. And when we rush, we override all of that. As a doctor, I've often told older patients, slowing down isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When you give your body space to respond, it surprises you. When you give your breath time to deepen, arousal follows. And when you focus on the moment, not just the outcome, you feel more alive. Dennis didn't realize how fast he'd been going until his therapist asked him to describe the process. He paused and admitted it was almost mechanical. That was his turning point. He made a few simple changes. He dimmed the lights, took a warm shower beforehand, sat with his breath for a few minutes before starting. He allowed the moment to be more than just release. It became ritual, something slow, intentional, even spiritual. And guess what? It felt different, better, richer, not just physically, but emotionally, like he was returning to a part of himself he hadn't seen in years. Rushing robs you of that. It trades depth for speed, and in the end, leaves you feeling disconnected. Pleasure after 60 isn't about urgency. It's about presence, rhythm, awareness. It's about letting go of old survival habits and creating new nourishing ones. So if you're still speeding through the motions, maybe it's time to ask, what are you trying to avoid by going so fast? If this message speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real conversations about health and aging. Have something on your mind? Leave a comment. I read and respond to each one. Or just share your story. You never know who it might help. Mistake 4. Ignoring the rest of your body. Leon had always believed that pleasure was a one-zone affair. For him, everything centered below the belt. That's how it had always been. Fast, focused, and limited to one small area of his body. At 74, he saw no reason to change it until his body stopped responding the way it used to. He found himself feeling disconnected. The same actions brought less sensation, less satisfaction. He wondered if age had simply taken its toll, but the truth was more complicated and more hopeful. As we age, the body changes, yes, but it also becomes more responsive in surprising ways if we let it. One of the biggest mistakes older men make is believing their pleasure starts and ends in one place. They forget that the body is a landscape of sensation, and over time, that narrow focus creates boredom, numbness, and disconnection. In my practice, I've often encouraged men to rediscover their own bodies. Your chest, your thighs, your neck, your stomach, even your back. These areas are full of nerve endings waiting to be explored. Gentle touch, soft massage, warm pressure, a little variation in temperature. These aren't indulgent acts. They're invitations for your nervous system to come alive again. Leon was skeptical at first, but he agreed to try something different. He dimmed the lights, put on music that reminded him of his youth, started with a simple palm over his chest, then his abdomen. Just touch, nothing rushed. And for the first time in years, he felt awake, present, like his whole body was part of the experience, not just one part doing all the work. Here's the truth. When you ignore the rest of your body, you're not just limiting sensation, you're shrinking your experience of pleasure and connection. When you bring your full self into the moment, everything shifts. Yang isn't about losing sensation. It's about expanding your awareness to parts of yourself you may have ignored for decades. If this resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe for more honest, science-backed content on men's health after 60. Have a question or want to share your own story? Leave a comment below. I'll be reading and replying personally. Mistake 5. Avoiding lubrication. Martin never thought of himself as someone who needed extra help. He was 71, still in decent shape, and had always approached intimacy the same way. Simple, straightforward, no frills. Lubrication? That was for people with problems, he thought. So he never used it. Not once. But things had changed. Touch no longer felt the same. His skin had grown more sensitive, a bit drier. What used to glide now tugged. What once brought relief now occasionally brought irritation. Still, he brushed it off, until the discomfort was enough to make him stop altogether. This is a quiet turning point for many older men. They don't talk about it, but they feel it. The subtle discomfort, the growing hesitation, and unfortunately, many blame themselves or assume it's just part of getting older. But often the problem isn't aging, it's friction. As we grow older, the skin loses natural moisture. Nerve endings become less responsive. What used to be effortless now needs gentler handling. That's not failure, it's biology. And the solution, in many cases, is surprisingly simple. Lubrication. I've spoken to countless men who, like Martin, resisted the idea out of pride. They thought it meant weakness or embarrassment. But once they tried it with the right product, the right attitude, everything changed. Lubrication reduces friction, prevents micro tears, enhances sensation, and makes the experience smoother, more comfortable, and often more enjoyable. Martin finally gave in after his partner, gently and lovingly, suggested it during an intimate conversation. He picked up a high-quality water-based lubricant. That night, he was surprised. Everything felt easier, more fluid. His hands moved without resistance. His focus shifted from managing discomfort to fully feeling again. And here's something men often overlook. Using lubrication isn't just about physical ease. It also signals to your brain and body that you're worth the extra care, that your pleasure and comfort matter, that you're not rushing or forcing, you're honoring your current needs. It's no different than using reading glasses or wearing orthopedic shoes. It's not a crutch, it's smart self-support. Some men also find that lubrication helps them reawaken areas of their body that had gone quiet. The sensation isn't just more comfortable, it's more vivid. It allows for slower, more intentional movement, which in turn creates space for a deeper emotional and physical connection. Martin described it like this. It was the first time in years I didn't feel like I was trying to keep up with a younger version of me. I felt like myself now. So if you've been avoiding lubrication out of habit or pride, ask yourself, is it worth giving up comfort for an old belief that no longer serves you? If this message resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel for more real talk about aging, health, and self-care. Got a question or want to share your own story? Leave it in the comments. I read everyone and respond with care. Mistake 6. Feeling shame or guilt about the act. James grew up in a household where you didn't talk about certain things. Pleasure was one of them. Touching yourself? Unthinkable. Even in adulthood, the shame stuck to him like smoke. He was now 76, widowed, and living alone in a quiet house filled with memories. And yet, even in private, he felt the need to rush, to hide, to carry guilt about something completely natural. He wasn't alone. For many older men, shame around self-pleasure doesn't vanish with age. It lingers, passed down from strict parents, religious teachings, or a culture that taught men to bury emotion and deny need. These messages may have been quiet, but they were powerful, and they shaped how an entire generation related to their own bodies. I've worked with many men who logically know that masturbation is normal, even healthy, but they still feel a pang of guilt afterward. That guilt can affect everything: their willingness to slow down, their ability to enjoy the moment, even their sense of self-worth. But here's the truth: your body doesn't judge you. Only your mind does. And often, that judgment isn't even your own. It was planted there years ago by someone else. Self-pleasure, when done mindfully, is more than release. It's emotional grounding. It's nervous system regulation. It's a way to reconnect to the self, especially in the quieter years of life. James once told me, "It's not the act that makes me feel bad. It's the voice in my head afterward." That voice, I explained, isn't truth. It's conditioning. And like any habit, it can be replaced. We began small. He gave himself permission to prepare, dim the lights, put on music, breathe. He treated the moment not as a guilty escape, but as an intentional form of care. Over time, the guilt faded, the shame lifted. He stopped apologizing for being human. Research backs this up too. Studies from the Kinsey Institute and other institutions show that older adults who maintain healthy self-pleasure habits tend to report higher levels of self-esteem, lower anxiety, and better sleep. Not because of the act itself, but because of the acceptance behind it. Letting go of shame isn't about denial. It's about understanding that you were never wrong for seeking comfort. You were just misled into believing that comfort came with a price. James, like many men his age, found peace not just in his body, but in his story. He rewrote it, not with shame, but with grace. If this speaks to you, please take a moment to subscribe for more honest conversations around health, aging, and healing. Have something to share or ask? Leave a comment. I personally respond to every message with care and respect. Mistake 7. Ignoring tools and enhancements designed for older men. Harold was a practical man, an engineer by trade. He believed in using the right tool for the job, except when it came to himself. At 79, he'd begun to feel the difference in his hands. A little stiffness in the fingers, a slight delay in response. Yet when it came to self-pleasure, he kept relying on the same methods he'd used for decades. No tools, no support, just willpower. Eventually, even that wasn't enough. His grip grew weaker. Sensation wasn't what it used to be. And instead of adapting, Harold pulled away from the experience entirely. He figured it was just age, nothing to be done. But that wasn't true. As men get older, it's natural to experience changes in dexterity, stamina, and even sensation. Yet many continue using outdated approaches, ignoring the growing number of enhancements designed specifically for older bodies. Some avoid them out of pride. Others don't even know they exist. But the right tool can make all the difference. I once recommended a soft silicone sleeve to Harold. At first he scoffed. He wasn't that kind of guy. But I reminded him of all the ways he'd adjusted to aging elsewhere. Using reading glasses, switching to slip-on shoes, installing a grab bar in the shower. This wasn't indulgence. It was smart adaptation. Eventually he agreed. And what surprised him wasn't just the physical comfort. It was the emotional ease. Using something that fit his body now, not his body 30 years ago, gave him a sense of dignity he hadn't felt in a long time. He wasn't struggling anymore. He was supporting himself. There are tools today designed specifically for men over 60, ergonomic massagers, sleeves with gentle pressure, lubricants that enhance sensitivity, even warming devices that help with circulation. These aren't gimmicks. They're innovations based on real needs. When you ignore these options, you're not proving strength. You're denying yourself comfort. You wouldn't hike in worn-out shoes or read with blurry vision. So why treat intimacy any differently? Harold told me, I felt like I'd finally stopped fighting my age and started working with it. That shift, from resistance to support, changed everything. There's nothing unmanly about using a tool to reconnect with your body. In fact, it might be the most respectful, self-aware thing you can do. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We talk about real aging, real health, and real solutions. Got a question or a story of your own? Leave a comment. I read them all and respond personally. Conclusion: reclaiming connection, confidence, and care. If you've made it this far, let me tell you something important. You're not alone. Every man who's lived past 60 has carried quiet questions about change, about desire, about what it means to still want closeness in a world that rarely talks about it. And yet, the truth is beautifully simple. Just because you've aged doesn't mean you've outgrown the need for connection. Not with others and not with yourself. This conversation isn't just about sex. It's about honoring your body, about treating yourself not like a machine that needs to perform, but like a human being who deserves care, tenderness, and respect. You're allowed to adapt, to explore, to soften where the world once told you to harden. The most powerful thing you can do in this chapter of life isn't to prove your strength, it's to embrace your humanity. And when you do, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing who you were. You start celebrating who you've become. James, Nathan, Brian, Leon, Martin, Dennis, Harold, they each made a quiet decision to show up for themselves, not in shame, not in secrecy, but with curiosity, dignity, and compassion. You can too. So here's the lesson. You are not past your prime. You're entering a new one, and it's never too late to feel deeply, to heal gently, and to live fully on your own terms. If this message moved you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a story that matters. Thank you for watching. Take good care of yourself, and remember, you deserve to feel good, always.